Today in crypto, another brutal day for the cryptocurrency markets serve as a very painful reminder of our uncomfortably close relationship with the global equity markets. It's so grim I got out the skull shirt again. Multiple major catalysts could mean that the market could be in for a rough ride in October. And I also have a few words for you on the kind of the hard realities of the market, so make sure to stick around to the end of this video, as I imagine that there are a lot of you out there listening who will need to hear this kind of advice. My name is Lark, and this is where you subscribe for all of the hottest and all of the latest happening out here in the wild land of crypto. Now, before I break all of this down for you, would you like to get $250 in free crypto? The answer is yes. Of course the answer is yes. Well, today's sponsor, BlockFi, is running an awesome promotion. For first-time signups, you can get up to a $250 bonus if you sign up using the link down below in the description and make a deposit before the 25th, and then maintain that balance until December 14th. And of course, while you're sitting back waiting to receive your sweet bonus, you're also going to be earning 6% on Bitcoin, 4.5% on Ethereum, 8.6% on USDC and other stablecoins, and 4% on Paxos Gold, and 5% on Litecoin. And they even have a flex pay option that lets you deposit in one currency and get paid out in another. So for example, you can deposit a bunch of USDC dollar stablecoins and then get your interest paid out in Bitcoin. So if you have been curious about trying out BlockFi and earning a passive income with your cryptocurrency holdings, then now is a great time to give it a test and to get a sweet bonus as a reward for getting your feet wet and dipping your toes into the passive income market. Now let's talk about Bitcoin. Now, the leading cryptocurrency saw a very brutal sell-off over the last 24 hours. It was actually down more than 8% at the peak of the sell-off. Altcoins, of course, have just been absolutely savaged. Many of them down 10 to 20% just today, continuing what was already a brutal rout for altcoins. Many of them now down 60, 70% from all-time highs just a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, Bitcoin closed the daily candle under that critical line of 10,500. Hopefully we can reclaim that soon. But the real question on your mind is, of course, Lark, why did Bitcoin dump today anyway, man? What's going on? What's going on with the markets? This is crazy. Well, the same reason it usually has dumped in 2020. The stock markets are down again. Correlation. It feels bad. The S&P 500 is actually down 10% since the start of the month, and it actually peaked at a low of down 4% in the last 24 hours. So just remember that little bit of a Bitcoin relief rally that we had back up to 11K the other day. Yeah, that was fun, wasn't it? Long ago. Anyway, during that relief rally, the S&P 500 went up also. The correlation has been very strong recently. But it's not just the US markets that are taking a hit today. Germany's DAX took a hit as well, down almost 4%. The UK's FTSE index took a similar hit. Renewed fears surrounding the coronavirus in the USA, combined with increased anxiety that the US Congress will not actually approve more stimulus money before the election takes place in November, are really starting to create a situation of intense uncertainty in the USA for the markets. And outside of the USA, it's now looking that the UK could potentially be facing a second corona lockdown, which of course explains the drop in the FTSE, and of course really just the increased uncertainty in global markets overall, considering the importance of London in the global markets, the major player. So it going on lockdown again could have some dramatic effects. France, Spain, Italy, Germany, and the UK are all seeing a resurgence of corona cases, which is not a good thing to see and could spell for a lot of economic turmoil coming. The dollar index, unsurprisingly, saw a strong spike on the back of all of this news, investors fleeing once again to the safety of the dollar. Curiously, though, the dollar index was rejected at that old line of support that has now been flipped into resistance. That, of course, has been something we've been keeping a close eye on here for a few months on the channel. Anyway, these short-term market events, they can certainly shake your resolve. But we must remember, the Federal Reserve is going to save us. Yes! Oh, what's going on? Anyway, they have publicly stated their policy to keep interest rates near zero and inflation above 2% for basically the foreseeable future years down the line. This is long-term going to hurt the dollar, of course, but, stocks are going to moon, so that's cool. Gold will continue to see big interest from macro investors, especially as inflation starts ramping up in 2021 and beyond. Bitcoin obviously will shine as well as it becomes increasingly popular among the big investor crowd. And when Bitcoin does well, altcoins do well too. There is also one other very interesting data point that I want you to consider. This is your food for thought kind of thing here. So when you're sitting in the shower later or standing up in the shower later, I guess you can think about this. But anyway, food for thought for you. The US elections. Now, to be honest, I really don't know why the markets care so much about the US elections because, in all honesty, no matter which party wins, Wall Street wins. So why does Wall Street care? But they do anyway. Here is a chart showing the historic returns of the S&P 500. Now, the green bar on this chart shows election years. Historically, September has been a bad month for markets, really just overall, but also for election years. But October in election years, it really stands out as being bad for the stock markets. Obviously, the past does not dictate the future, but with all of the election uncertainty and corona fears and no new stimulus package, the markets might see further losses. So it could be a rough few weeks ahead for the stock markets. Now, the good news, again, this is just historical data. November and December are usually really good months in election years. So at least there's that to look forward to. And look, even if October is a tough month, and there's no guarantee that it will be, I believe that Bitcoin and thus the entire cryptocurrency market, we're actually still in a bullish uptrend, but we could be in for a, correction, deeper correction within that. And no, I don't want to sound like a broken record. Lark's always bullish on the crypto markets. But the price is only down a few percent today, so you have to keep that in perspective. The actions of the Federal Reserve are going to have severe impacts over the next 5 to 10 years in terms of inflation, but they're also going to basically be guaranteeing that the market cannot fail. And in case you're worried that, MicroStrategy, it's the only company that's ever going to buy Bitcoin, it was a one-off deal. And listen to this, because this is very interesting. According to Veritas, who surveyed institutional investors that oversee some $78.4 billion worth of collective assets, a full 90% of those surveyed expect to see increases in crypto and Bitcoin holdings in the next 5 years for their institutional clients, meaning that more institutional money is coming into crypto. It's trickling in all the time. MicroStrategy, it was a big deal, obviously. And while MicroStrategy was the first, it's not going to be the last. How many companies are sitting on just billions and billions of cash? They're not going to just be losing it to inflation. Also, for reference, we're still well above the 200-day moving average, which is a solid indicator of the direction of the market overall. We could pull back down to $9,200 and still technically be in a bullish market. The 20-week moving average is actually still holding as a line of support for Bitcoin right now. That is a very key moving average to keep an eye on because there's a bigger time frame, so it kind of drowns out a bit of the day-to-day noise. And looking out on the monthly, the current price action is again little more than a continuation of the retest of the line of resistance that's now flipped into a line of support. That being said, trends are made to be broken, so there's that to keep in mind. And the big catalysts leading us into October and of course then into November could have some real wild card outcomes for us. Now, all that being said, if you're now looking at your portfolio and questioning your decisions right now in the market, then perhaps this is a good time for learning some potentially tough lessons. Panic selling, it's a dangerous game. And I think that is what a lot of people are doing right now. They're panic selling at sometimes dramatic losses. Personally, I'm not selling any of my positions right now, even the ones that are underwater. And yeah, there's a decent percentage of my portfolio that's underwater. A lot of positions are still actually in profit, even with the corrections, but not all of them by any means. And even with the possibility that October could be a rough month, I'm still holding. So again, you have to realize the past does not dictate the future, and I make no pretense to know or to be able to predict the future. You guys do realize that, right? I'm not a guru. I'm just a dude talking about cryptocurrencies on the internet. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. But the real key to success in this game is managing your risk. Now, I am personally invested in cryptocurrencies that I believe are fundamentally strong and that will do exceedingly well over the next few years, taking those bigger time frame horizons. But I still try to keep up with best practices within my portfolio. I try to take profits consistently, get that initial capital back out. I keep position sizes low on more speculative assets. I try to stay away from really, really risky stuff, even though you might get bigger rewards. I'm not into that hardcore level of risk. I try to take advantage of passive income opportunities, which can be really lucrative in this market. And with time, all of this has consistently grown my portfolio. But if you have been getting your butt handed to you over the last few weeks in the market, then maybe you need to ask yourself some tough questions about what has gone wrong in your portfolio. One of the biggest ones is probably, did you take profits when the market was pumping? If you didn't do that, why didn't you do that? I took profits, or at the very least pulled out my capital on quite a few different positions, which psychologically makes watching these kind of market days a heck of a lot easier, man. So if you didn't do that this time around, you'll have another market cycle like this. Be ready for it and plan for it. Did you manage your risk by keeping position sizes low for those more speculative plays? That's very important. Did you actually do your own research, or did you just buy something because social media influencers were talking about it? You'd be surprised how often people just run out and buy stuff. You have got to do your own research. You have to know that you're actually investing in something that has strong fundamentals. Now, perhaps it's also a good time to examine your buying behavior. See, far too many investors, they buy when the price is pumping, and they sell when the price is tanking. Prices going up, it has this weird way of just messing with our heads and distorting our reality, making us overly confident in the market. That results in irrational buying patterns, also known as, buying the fricking top. Conversely, massive dips make us less confident in our investment decision, and of course then cause irrational panic selling to take place. So we must remember this is a notoriously volatile market. The people who do best long-term in the cryptocurrency market are those who can see the forest from the trees and who are able to really think counterintuitively to the herd, because the herd usually wrong. So buy on the dips, take profits on pumps, cut losers, let your winners run, buy low, sell high. I mean, these are all super simple concepts, but our brains, they have this weird way of just screwing us over when the time comes to actually enact on these plans. And of course, they convince us to do the opposite, and then we buy high and sell low and we get wrecked faster than you can realize. If you're looking for opportunity in the market, then you have to realize too that you don't have to look very far. Every single day, there is a new opportunity in the market if you can look at the market with rational, sober eyes. Now, the current rates for yield farming can be very, very high if you're willing to take those risks. Even for the top platforms, which I would say are lower risk, things like Uniswap, yield farming can net you 46% returns, of course, paid out in the Uni token. Obviously, there's still risks around impermanent loss, which you need to understand, unless, of course, you're farming stablecoin pairs, which aren't actually available for the Uni token yet. But I digress. Obviously, there's smart contract failure too, but the risk is much lower when you're using one of these more established players like Uniswap. So if you are going to be playing that game, try to stick to the more reliable players. Another big opportunity in the market right now is token sales. And that might seem really crazy on a day when the markets are all red. Oh, you can't token sales. That's crazy, man. Well, some people got burned so bad last season, they don't even want to contemplate the idea of token sales. The simple reality is that investors right now are making big returns on token sales again. This is not going to go away. This is a new cycle we're starting up here, even if there are some pretty serious bumps at the start of it. You can either get into token sales or ignore them. That's an option for you. Obviously, you don't have to, but one token sale to definitely keep your eye on this week, though, is PowerTrade. Now, that is the Bitcoin options trading platform aimed at the retail market that we've actually discussed here on the channel before. Bitcoin options, they are a big market. But up until now, Bitcoin options have largely catered just to the institutional players. Power Trade is changing that and addressing a big gap in the market, which is, of course, the retail investors. Now, I hope that you did claim your free airdrop when we talked about Power Trade last time on the channel. I mean, in case you're wondering, oh, airdrops, is it really going to pay off? Look at what just happened with Uniswap. Uniswap has reminded us just how profitable airdrops can be. Power Trade, by the way, is backed by some of the biggest names in the crypto industry, including Pantera Capital, as well as the founders of CoinGecko and of Synthetics and of Kyber Network. So it's definitely one to keep an eye on. So if this is something that you're interested in getting involved in, then the whitelist is actually opening up in just a few hours. So the sale is happening this week. Now, spaces are very limited, so make sure that if you are interested in getting in on this, that you're very quick on the draw. You have to be sitting there waiting for the whitelist to open and then pounce on it immediately. We also have the first exchange listing announcement. Power Trade will be listed on BitMax on Thursday, so that's really cool to see. And the final opportunity in the market right now, and it may seem crazy looking at all the losses that have happened in the altcoin markets, but it's altcoins. And I know it can be tough when you see these losses, you see how far your portfolio has gone down. But again, you invested in quality projects, right? You invested in things with strong fundamentals, right? These are the same altcoins that a week or 2 or 3 or 4 weeks ago, you would have done anything to buy these altcoins at these prices. And now that they are at these prices, many investors are actually afraid to buy them and won't buy them until they've pumped back up by 100%. Which brings me back to the earlier point. Stop buying high and selling low. That's not how winning is done, guys. Anyway, your question for today. Do you think that October could be a bad month for the stock markets and thus a bad month for Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency markets? Or are we going to get a raft of good news that's going to send the markets soaring? We're going to have a corona vaccine deployed. We're going to have stimulus from Congress. We're going to avoid the lockdowns. It's all going to go great. Or not. Let me know down below in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.